Now, the funny thing about financial aid is they're going to tell you, the forms typically come out in October. They're not due until May or June. But guess when you need to complete them? As soon as they are released. We're not focused on the deadline. We need to know when the forms are released. You need to be completing them within that first 2-week window. Why? Because that money is given out on a first come, first served basis. So if you complete your FAFSA all late, now you in May, June, guess what? That money may have already been allocated to other families. They're not waiting to see who has the greatest need. They're waiting to see based on who has gotten their forms done first, okay? Question for you. Do you know the steps that you need to take to prepare for financial aid season? Well, we're going to get you straight on this episode of the Thank Me Later Show. Welcome to another episode of the Thank Me Later Show with me, your host, Jini Thornton, where we help you master your money and transform your life. And what are we going to master and transform today? We're going to get you ready for financial aid season. So you see me, wearing my A&T paraphernalia, getting you ready for all things college, getting you ready to go. Aggie Pride here, Aggie Pride. So, I get to talk to a lot of parents and a lot of families, and this is the second most popular topic that we cover within the Thank Me Later community. I hear from y'all, and I understand. And I know why y'all reaching out, because college is so expensive and the process is really, really overwhelming. So I have 6 quick tips for you to help you and your family get ready for financial aid season. So number 1, I need you to get intimately familiar with the forms. Most people are using the FAFSA, right? The free application for federal student aid. Certain schools may have other applications, all right? But I need you to take some time and get familiar with the forms before you complete them. And even if you're not new to this, maybe you have a child who's been in school for a couple of years, take some time and get intimately familiar with those forms before you fill out those applications. So the U.S. Department of Education has not released the deadline yet, or when the forms are going to be available yet. They typically open October 1st. Last year was all kind of drama. They didn't come out to December, January last year. So we're going to see when the Department of Ed is going to release the forms this year. Okay. Number 2, I need you to schedule intentional time to complete the forms. You cannot do this on the fly. You cannot multitask, watching Netflix, you on social media, it's your lunch break real quick. I need you to schedule some very intentional time where you're going to focus on the forms and nothing else. I don't want anybody interrupting you, all right? And I don't want you to feel rushed or overwhelmed. So literally put it in your calendar like an appointment. That way you'll know, block the time. Block a couple of hours, probably won't take you that long. But again, I want you to approach it in a way where you're going to be, comfortable, ready, got your game face on. I want you to have your game face on. So that's tip number 2. Number 3, I need you to be aware of all of the deadlines. Now, the funny thing about financial aid is they're going to tell you, the forms typically come out in October. They're not due until May or June. But guess when you need to complete them? As soon as they are released. We're not focused on the deadline. We need to know when the forms are released. You need to be completing them within that first 2-week window. Why? Because that money is given out on a first come, first served basis. So if you complete your FAFSA all late, now you in May, June, guess what? That money may have already been allocated to other families. They're not waiting to see who has the greatest need. They're waiting to see based on who has gotten their forms done first, okay? So it's critically important that you get them taken care of right away. Tip number 4, I need you to explore scholarships, right? Because most people don't understand student loans are part of a financial aid package. And you're like, how can that be financial aid? I got to pay that back. Yes, technically student loans are a form of financial aid. If you or your child doesn't want a lot of student loans, you're going to have to do the work in advance. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, and I shock people when I say this. When do you start looking for scholarships? You really should start looking around the 9th grade. Yes, I said the 9th grade. 9th grade, 10th grade. By 11th grade, you need to know what's going on, okay? You don't complete the scholarship applications until senior year, and typically that's first semester senior year. But you need to be building that profile, knowing all the deadlines, knowing all the requirements before. So, for example, a scholarship may require a certain number of community service hours, a certain GPA. Maybe you have to take certain courses. Well, you have to be working on that all along. You can't show up senior year. And now you're getting ready. You want to go to A&T, of course. I know you want to be an Aggie, of course, but you're getting ready. My husband's over there shaking his head. No, he means yes. I know he means yes. He means yes for sure. But you have to get ready to build that particular profile. All right. Because again, people are getting student loans in their in their financial aid package, and they're like, this is not what I expected. Well, if this is not what you expect, you're going to have to prepare for it. Tip number 5, and this is what I just was alluding to, you need to begin building your student academic profile early. And you're like, Janine, what's the academic profile? That could be several things. Obviously, it's the grade point average, it's the GPA. It's the type of courses that the student is taking. It could be community service hours. It could be working part-time. It could be extracurricular activities, band, dance, football, basketball. All of those things create a student profile. Depending upon the scholarship that you're applying for or that the student is applying for, different things may be important. You can't figure this out senior year. Okay. It's even going to be a little dicey trying to figure this out junior year. I know some families who do start as early as middle school, kind of getting a lay of the land. But really, 9th grade, you really want to start that early. And I'm going to tell a story about that in just a minute. And then tip number 6, seek help if you need it. So a lot of times, guidance counselors are available. You can certainly check out the Thank Me Later community. We have some amazing content with Lenora Jackson, who is the previous director of financial aid at Spelman College. We have a ton of really, really good information within our community to help you. So quick personal story. So when our youngest son, Cameron, was in school, he went to high school, Whitfield in Metro Atlanta. Literally the first week of 9th grade, they had a parent meeting and we were talking about preparing for college. And I was like, what is happening? We just got here. Because that was not our experience with our oldest son, Trevor. His school did not start engaging us about college really until almost his senior year. So on the flip, now my son Cameron, literally 9th grade, we are having a parent meeting the first week of school about college. And that changed the whole game for me. So I'm like, oh, okay. Now I understand how things work. Because a lot of us culturally, we weren't raised that way. You start thinking about money your senior year. But guess what? More than likely, you could potentially be too late, or you're going to have significantly more work to do. All right. So please don't think that you chilling just because your child, your nephew, your godchild is in 9th or 10th grade. Like, no, you need to get to work right now, and you want to begin to spread that work out some. All right. So I know we have a question on the Thank Me Later hotline. Let's go ahead and hear our question.
Hi, my name is Chanel Washington, and I've heard you mention before about building a student's profile and how important it is to start early. What all does that mean? My son is in sports now, and of course I stay on him about grades. What else can I do to make him attractive to colleges?
So thank you, Chanel. And she was a caller within our Thank Me Later community. And question was perfect about building the student profile. Now, what I've really noticed about a lot of families when they have a child or a student who plays sports, like they're so focused on that they're not building the rest of the profile, right? So yes, obviously we need their grades to be good, but we will also want to make sure that we have a potential plan B. And again, those can be everything from working, that can help build a student profile. Volunteer hours. There's some high schools you have to have a certain number of volunteer hours just to graduate, but volunteering can be a big part of the student profile. And again, the type of classes that they're potentially taking too can also help build that student profile. Kind of think of it like a resume. When I'm saying student profile, it's kind of like this resume, but it's not just where you work. It's all of the things that the student has been doing their entire high school career. All right. It's really, really important that we're very intentional. And again, I know it's a completely different way of thinking. And y'all, school has gotten increasingly more competitive. So I'm just going to kind of take a minute and brag for a minute. So obviously I'm an Aggie, got my little NCAA paraphernalia on. A&T takes a little bit more than 3,000 students, freshmen every year. Last year, A&T had almost 40,000 applications for 3,000 spaces, right? Meeting a child with a 4.0 is not unusual anymore, particularly for girls. 4.0s are a dime a dozen right now. So what does that mean? Is it nice to have a 4.0? Yes, but you're going to have to build the rest of the profile, okay? We're going to say it over and over again, building the profile. So those are the 6 steps. Hope that was very helpful. Here's a few resources that I want to share with you to make sure you and your family are good. You definitely want to check out the Thank Me Later College and Financial Aid series on YouTube. So we have a whole series for y'all. Please check that out. We also have a Thank Me Later scholarship organizer. So you can go to Thank Me Later money for that, thankmelater.money for that. But that scholarship tracker is a great way of helping you organize all your information. And for scholarships, people are like, where do I look? You can definitely go to FastWeb. Again, that's fastweb.com. I think your greatest source may either be the school that the student is applying at, and also in your community, churches, Greek letter organizations. That's where the money is, kind of like boots on the ground. So those are a couple of resources there. And then you can always go to FAFSA, FAFSA.gov, G-O-V, in order to check out the forms directly, all right? So I know that was a lot. But I just want to make sure that you are prepared for financial aid season. And as we close, I just want to say thank you for listening to another episode of the Thank Me Later Show with me, your host, Jini Thornton. You can certainly engage with me on social media at Jini Thornton, at TML Money, and send us your questions, any suggestions, any particular content that you would like us to cover. Again, thank you for engaging with us, and I will see you next episode.